DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. It is Monday. We got 6 games here on the main slate. I believe, right, James? We're going to have the Lakers and Clippers on this slate. I think. Haven't had them postponed quite yet. Obviously, the California wildfires had the Lakers and Clippers postponing some of their games last week, but I think as of now, those games are set to play. So at least 6 games for this Monday, but if anything happens there, we'll obviously let you guys know. Those games are at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Not a bad slate, though. Some pretty interesting matchups, some fun ones, maybe some playoff previews as well here.
Yeah, as of now, nothing's nothing on the Los Angeles front. Obviously we've seen everyone's back at practice, and we saw the Reddit conversation and talk about him losing his home, but they were at shoot around and stuff. So I'm assuming they're gonna play unless we hear anything different.
Yep. So we'll have some midday updates potentially if anything there goes down. From an injury standpoint on this slate, everything's pretty solid. Like overall, again, AD and LeBron expected to play. Brunson had left, but I think he came back in that game, right?
He did. So yeah, he did.
Expectations are, well, he'll be fine there. Brogdon is probably unlikely. Sohan is questionable. Draymond is expected to play in this game here. So Tyree Eason continues to be doubtful, but for the first time in a while, a pretty clean slate from injuries. Now I'll knock on wood here because anything's likely to pop up in the early afternoon injury reports, but some fun matchups for us to take advantage of. Top price plays on the slate: Victor Wembanyama at 11.3, Anthony Davis 10.5, Cade Cunningham 10.3, Karl Anthony Towns 10K, up over $10,000 as 4 players there. Taking a look at the point guard position, it's Cade at 10.3, and then it dumps down under $9,000. Cade continues to be on a heater. He's got a matchup against the Knicks. When it comes to the top spend ups, where does he rank for you?
He's up there. Yeah, he's probably on par with Wemby in terms of what he's been able to do lately. Do I think 17 assists is a little bit of a ceiling? I do, but also didn't have his best scoring night. We know he's a good rebounder, so he's amongst the best. I have a slightly different opinion on Brunson. I know he did come back. I wouldn't be so sure that he'd play in the second leg of a back-to-back after an injury, but I guess we'll see. It is the Knicks, but I'm not. I'm definitely like a little iffy. And again, I know he came back. I know he played. He had the big first quarter. He had a big end of the game as well. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle him on the second leg of a back-to-back
For sure.
after the right shoulder.
Yeah, and that would obviously open up some value. This campaign, there's Deuce McBride. Obviously, both of those would end up being valuable plays here for the 6 gamer. Steph Curry here. Last time we saw him was against Detroit. Obviously, had not played the game prior. They rested him on the second leg of that back-to-back there. 40 fantasy points pretty consistently. This matchup against Toronto, $8,800. Again, I think an under 9K Steph Curry. John Morant's in that same range. You mentioned Brunson. Hero's back down under 9K. James Harden all the way down to $8,300. What are your thoughts with this range of point guards?
Yeah, it's a good range. Steph for sure, 88, good in tournaments. Ja just couldn't get anything going in that game. The return game for Ja, he also was in really big foul trouble in the first half. His return game, he had a 43% usage rate. This game, he had a 34% usage rate.
Right.
So yeah, good. If he's going to just be 5 of 19 and 9 of 22, then yeah, you're going to have a tough time, really having a big outing, but I will put my eggs in the John Morant basket if he's going to have a 40 plus and a 33% usage rate in back-to-back games. He's going to make shots. So
agreed.
Can definitely get to Ja. Brunson, if he plays, obviously coming off a monster game. I mean, he had 44 actual in 28 minutes, which is just absurd. And it's just what he does. He can, when he has it going, he is one of the best, like, just scorers in the NBA. So if Brunson plays, he's definitely fine. Like Hero 85. I don't like the spot necessarily, but Jimmy's out again, so we're gonna get everything flowing through Tyler Hero.
Right, 40 plus, 45 plus, basically, in 3 of the last 4 games out of Tyler Hero here.
And I'm good with Harden too. I mean, I know Kawhi. I believe Kawhi is off the injury report.
Yeah,
He's good to go, and gonna still be limited and whatnot. But the price for Harden is seemingly. I mean,
It's dropping rapidly, right? Like, and
they've only like completed one game lately because their other 3 have been blowouts. Got blown out in Denver, blown out, or blew Atlanta out, and got blown out versus Spurs, second leg of a back-to-back. But the one game they completed, he had 50 fantasy points, and that was a game with Kawhi. So I'm good with getting to James Harden at 8,300 if that's where you end up.
Yeah, I agree. I think the price is certainly a bit too cheap here. Again, not to take away sort of for a 6-game slate, I think there's some pretty good options here at the guard position. Below them, you have Jordan Poole at 77 against Minnesota. Okay, fine. But Reeves at 75, Van Vliet at $7,100. I think both of those plays are perfectly good in this mid-tier range. We've been playing a lot of Reeves, and you've talked a lot about Van Vliet. 41 minutes against Memphis. 38, 42, like this dude just basically doesn't come off the floor, just allowing him opportunities to rack up fantasy points.
If he's gonna, I'm gonna just keep rotating the same thing. Like if he's going to play minutes, then I'm going to have interest.
Agreed. We got 25 actual out of Emmanuel quickly here. The numbers have certainly been a bit inconsistent, but you kind of pointed out that Golden State's defense lately hasn't really been that good. So this could be a game where it's a bit more high scoring and maybe a bit more competitive. I think the Warriors are just 4.5-point road favorites here, but quickly at 67, again, not my favorite spot with the way we've seen Barnes and Barrett play, but if that game ends up, breaking out, he could be involved there. Chris Paul is at 6K as well, I think as a pretty good option. I guess my big question for you, and you can go back and talk about any of those players if you want to, but Donte DiVincenzo. Highlighted him, had a monster breakout game near triple-double against Memphis. Had kind of struggled a little bit the previous games in terms of his overall like payoff given the role he had. $5,400 against Washington, though. Is this a spot where you'd be comfortable going back?
Yeah, I mean, the writing is on the wall. If Donte DiVincenzo makes shots, he is extended and he has a high ceiling. And if he doesn't make shots, he's not extended and he's going to get benched in favor of someone else. And that is just what it is. This feels like a spot that you can believe Donte DiVincenzo is going to make shots. Everyone makes shots against Washington. They're the worst rated defense in the NBA. So, it just really has kind of been as simple as that. When you look through like all of DiVincenzo's games that he's been extended, it's in games where he's, spacing the floor and making a lot of threes. And he does have, with Ant and with him being now your primary backcourt, he does now have more, assist upside as well. So, yes, but just, I'm understanding that if he doesn't make shots, well, the 3 games prior, 24, 29, and 31 minutes are a little different than 36 minutes.
Sure.
So.
And to your point, I mean, obviously this is totally cherry picking. The last games he's played over 34 minutes. He had that game there, 36, 57 fantasy points, 34 and 37, 44 and 41 fantasy points in those 2 games too. So
made shots to your point, and made 5 plus threes in all 3.
Yep. To your point, he gets on the floor, he stays there. Any other point guards you want to highlight here?
No.
The Jared Butler experience again?
No.
Okay. Poole played. He played 21 minutes. It was a blowout, though, guys. Blowout. But he still went absolutely nutty. 33 fantasy points. People will go there. They'll play him.
No, that didn't happen. He played 8 minutes today.
Oh, okay.
They lost by 30, and he played 8 minutes.
Okay, so this is all right. That was the game before. There you go. Perfect.
They have If people are healthy, I'm not playing. I will let him beat me. I don't care. He played 8 minutes.
Yeah, okay. That was the previous game. Tonight's game against the Thunder, he did not play. Okay, perfect. Good. Glad we can not talk about that then. All right, shooting guard position then. Anthony Edwards up to 9K. We've talked about this plenty. Price we knew was going to go up. Matchup here against Washington rather, for Minnesota. Wasn't a great game for him against Memphis, but still worthy of a spot here for you.
Yeah, it's funny because like on the Sunday slate in single entry, Shea was 70% owned. And he was 70% owned of the field, literally understanding that this was a 17-point spread.
Yeah.
And that I'm the first person to not believe in blowout. But when you see somebody has a 17-point spread on the road, there is not a lot of other outcomes that are gonna take place.
Right.
And
I think the Celtics outright lost that earlier this year against Golden State, right? Like, wasn't everybody
Atlanta game?
Yeah.
Was that the Atlanta game
like
in the
14 and a half
tournament?
points,
Yeah,
something like
that. Okay, with the one exception of the Celtics losing, and so like Shea got 45 fantasy points and played like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a little different because Ant's only $9,000, but there is something baked in there, right? Like Minnesota's playing better. They're 13.5-point road favorites.
Yeah.
Playing Washington on the second leg of a back-to-back after they lost by 41. I love, obviously the spot. It is the best spot you could have. They're going to probably lead an implied point total. If they're not first, they'll be second or third on the slate. Washington's dead last in defense now. They've overthrown every other team in the NBA. They play really fast. But if this game's a 30-point game in the fourth quarter, you're not seeing Anthony Edwards. So that would be my one pause for concern. And again, Shea was 10.5 and Edwards is 9K. So like he can get there, but you do still need the 45 versus, and that's in 3 quarters.
A couple of the blowouts. I guess I don't really know what happened in the Chicago game. He played 35 minutes in this game. They won 135-119 back in November. They played just 30 second leg of a back-to-back when they won by 25. He played 29 the game before that when they won by like 20 against Charlotte. So to your point, maybe 30-minute max is what we get out of Edwards if we're looking at a blowout here. But price tag will just continue to sort of rise on him. Where are we looking to go next? Amen Thompson probably at $7,300.
Yeah, the foul trouble really just did him in that game. And he still played 36 minutes, but it was like he picked up like 2 second half fouls and then sat the first 10 minutes of the third quarter.
Yeah.
Is a guy who's played 40 in back-to-back games. So that's the type of upside he has. Plus, when people are in foul trouble, they just play differently sometimes, right? They're just more passive. There's a lot of different approach. So
yeah, he's not playing aggressively defensively, which is
Yep.
one of the better calling cards of him. So
right. So yeah, I'm okay going back to Amen Thompson. Also okay going back to Jalen Green. Jalen Green is on a heater. He continues to score the basketball at an elite clip, 27 plus points in 4 straight games. And since the start of the span, his price has only risen $200. So you're still getting Jalen Green at like sort of a like bargain price. So take advantage while, and again, like Jabari out, Tari Eason out, they're just not comfortable playing anyone else. Like Udoka just doesn't care.
Yep. And we talked about this. It might have been 3 shows ago now at this point, but like this is what end of last year, second half of last year, Jalen Green looked like, and we're like, oh man, like this dude's now we know why he was the number 2 overall pick or whatever it was. Like he's looking like an absolute stud. Was he the Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green draft?
Yes.
Those 2 picks are looking pretty good right now. So Jalen Green obviously at this price point is kind of ridiculous, and he's had 2 good games very much like that against Memphis this season. Norm, I think, is always fine. Again, he wasn't really impacted by Kawhi's initial return. He's $6,900. Devin Vassell's always going to be popular and chalky at this price point at $6,200 against the Lakers. You can certainly go and run that matchup back. It was limited, obviously, in the first 2 games against them, but still 25 fantasy points average in 21 minutes. in those 2 games at the beginning of the year. And now he's starting and playing over 30. So, good looks for him. If there is no Brunson, you probably take a look at some of these other Knicks plays here against Detroit. We have Beasley, obviously, on the other side of that matchup. What are your thoughts as we work our way down the value of shooting guard?
Yeah, Vassell for sure. Bridges is playing pretty poorly, so you would definitely need the Brunson news to hit. Detroit. So Detroit's interesting because they went back to the Asar Thompson starting lineup when they were fully healthy, and he didn't really play a lot. He played like 20 minutes. Beasley's minutes were kind of cut, not like a lot, but 27 minutes. I feel like I'm definitely more comfortable when we're in like max minutes. Michael Beasley or Malik Beasley, but Tim Hardaway shot 9 of 13 and 7 from 8 from 3. So like, he was cut down a little bit. So you could always get to Beasley in tournaments, but it's not my favorite.
Kind of crazy that if PHJ gets hot like that, like Beasley ends up running out of a rotation there.
It just depends on like, I think now that Thompson's back, it just creates kind of a logjam, right? Because like Toby's not losing minutes anymore. Like they're back to giving Toby and Cade are 2 like guys that are just completely locked into minutes.
I didn't forget it, right?
Yeah, so it's just like you're vying for, you got 4 or 5 guys for 2 spots, really, because you got Holland, you got a bunch of other guys too. So I don't have a lot of interest, honestly, until we basically get to like Luke Kennard, and that's not even like my favorite. He benefited greatly from the Morant foul trouble, especially in the first half. And then Morant, like, not necessarily in foul trouble anymore. Like the minutes kind of went away for Kennard.
You lukewarm on Luke Kennard?
Yeah, I'm lukewarm. Definitely lukewarm here. I'm pretty hard away for Tim here. At 4,200 in tournaments, if you believe that he can continue to make shots.
How about him just making shots? Turn him back the clock.
Dude, just making shots, right? Just making shots. So
who knew it was that easy, right, James? Just make shots. Just
make shots. One more, I guess. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Interesting note, I think, is the Bruce Brown minutes are definitely trending in the right direction. I'm like curious on where they'll go because Grady Dick is he's cratered.
It's hard to be good when you have quickly Barrett and Barnes all on the floor with you, right?
Right. And like, so Bruce Brown is someone who I view him differently than Grady Dick because Grady Dick is just not the guy peripherally, right? He is just like unable to really contribute in a lot of different areas.
They relegated him to the corner 3.
Right. Right. Bruce Brown can really do a lot of different things. So I'm just pointing out the 21 and 20 minutes are the most that we've seen from Bruce Brown. And I think that is a positive thing. We'll see if how good his last performance was gives him a little more time on the floor in this one.
Yeah, that's fine. Christie's still playing a lot of minutes for the Lakers as well. He's 4K.
He is. Yep, he is.
If you just wanted a spot there. And then the Spurs, I guess, if Sohan's out, if he ends up being out, we can talk, Champagne and all that crew again.
Yep.
But we'll have that update for you guys in the middle of the day tomorrow. Small forward, he gives us Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett, both small forward eligible. Barnes obviously holds the point guard eligibility, so he gives you that guard forward, which we like. But Scotty Barnes is looking really good. Double-doubles, scoring baskets, giving you defensive stats. It's everything you want. And the price just sort of like keeps dropping on him. So he should be around a 9K player. He's definitely doable at this price point. Barrett under him, again, not as productive, but certainly can be productive if he hits his threes. There's a higher ceiling. Hasn't hit his threes lately. Therefore, the ceiling hasn't necessarily been there, but certainly fine. Going to either, would obviously prefer Barnes over Barrett if you had to pick. If there's no Brunson, Josh Hart becomes elite, but you can always just play Josh Hart anyways if you want to there. Another just not really moving his price at all, up $100 from the other day there. Thoughts on anybody else in this mid small forward range? Taquez too expensive at 61?
Probably a little too expensive. He got in early foul trouble. He had 2 fouls in the first quarter, and then Haywood Highsmith didn't miss a shot. Nikola Jovic didn't miss a shot. So like Jaquez kind of got a little unlucky in this game, but we know that can happen with Miami. If your name is not Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo, like you are not safe. Well, yeah, he's not safe for sure, but he hasn't been safe for 3 years now. But like Jaquez is definitely on the not safe list, but I mean, there's still no, at the end of the day, there's still no Jimmy Butler, and there's minutes to be had there.
For sure. We got Wiggins going to Canada, right? $6,000 narrative play there. OG Anunoby is at $5,800 as well. Some other names we've kind of already discussed here, but any thoughts on those two?
No, they're boring.
They're boring plays. All right. Safe. Wiggins is probably safe, right? Even though everybody's back.
He's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
He's a guy, as Cam the Man said in our chat.
Yeah, he's a guy.
All right. Value that at small forward. Anybody that we haven't yet discussed that you would be interested in?
I mean, I like that Asar started. I just, I don't know what their plan with him is. Like, is it just this role, or are they like trying to ramp him up? Like, I don't know, but
I think it's to your point. Like, they have too many options and they're just giving them all minutes instead of cutting one of them out of the rotation.
It's just so unfortunate because he is so good defensively.
Yes, there was a Twitter conversation going on being like, and it was DFS related, where someone was like, Asor is not Amen, and we need to start realizing that. It's like, well, one guy is getting 38 minutes a night of opportunity. Well, that may still be true. Like, Amen Thompson may just clearly be the better player. One guy is getting a lot of opportunity to play a lot of minutes and develop, or Asor Thompson hasn't really been giving that consistently. He dealt with the blood clot issues and all of those things. But like, Asor Thompson's an elite defender. Yes. And if he can ever get sort of the consistent minutes to develop an offensive game to some degree, neither brother hits threes. They just play around the rim. So, like, if he could just get some playing time here, maybe we could see that development out of him.
Yeah. And honestly, like, they may just be like that one piece on everybody's team that can't shoot. And like, they never develop that, or, they at least become somewhat of like a presence there. I don't think they'll ever be 40% 3-point shooters, but you're right. One of them is getting complete opportunity to do so. And it does look, obviously, because we've seen it, Amen Thompson looks better, but we just don't know that to be a fact until we see both of them extended. Anyways, I don't, again, maybe it is just we can't get him more minutes because there's too many players. I don't hate him in the role that he's in just because he is just so good per minute.
Yeah.
If there's no Sohan, I'd have a hard time not clicking Keldon. He's been really good of late. And we just know that this is what he can be, like offensively and on the glass. Those are the only two things that he has ever contributed in. And we like, when he started or play 30 minutes, we'd play him at $6,000. So like, if Sohan sits mid-20s minutes is good for Keldon Johnson. He'd probably be my favorite of like the Spurs. I know like he's the most expensive because like Champagny is so cheap and plays minutes, and Castle's so cheap and plays minutes, but Keldon's probably the one guy that we didn't mention that I would.
Yeah. Totally cool with that. Another team that's sort of just log jammed at this like hybrid small forward, power forward position with Champagny. They still have Harrison Barnes, and you mentioned obviously Keldon there as well. So you can play any of those. That's perfectly fine. Power forward, again, LeBron James, $9,500. Your boy, Jaren Jackson Jr., man, continues to do it. Goes up against Minnesota, 13 of 24 in that game, 33 actual points, 46 fantasy points after he comes off of an 8 stock game against Houston the game before that, 52 fantasy points. Another matchup against Houston here tonight. If he's going to play this way, man, look out. Just impressive numbers for him.
He is going to play this way. He's been playing. This has been I would say the only difference now versus earlier in the year was that they were just limiting everyone's minutes. Like, you are not seeing 34 plus minutes nightly out of anybody in Memphis. And especially, I mean, everyone, right? They're playing him in between Memphis and Golden State. You can rely on 24 people playing a night.
Yeah.
If that matchup happened, there's 24 players playing. And like Memphis is still playing a bunch of guys, but they've obviously, cut out some of it. And Jaren Jackson's been a great beneficiary of it. And also, the production is just kind of like pretty straightforward. He's always been a really good scorer, and he's always been a good stocks guy. But now that we're getting the consistent rebounding, it's just helped him just further his fantasy game
Even the
even more.
assist numbers. I know the last game he had 1, but like his assist numbers even lately, last 10
Yeah.
games, 3.4. And he's got more games
Sure.
of like 4 or 5 assists than he does less than 4 assists, right?
Sure.
So really becoming a complete player. Absolutely love to see it. Again, if you want to play LeBron, that's fine too. He's averaging 54 fantasy points in 2 games against San Antonio. Randall the other day was pretty good. Gets a matchup against the Wizards. Always kind of a fine play if you want to go against Washington there. What are your thoughts as we kind of hit this mid-tier range?
Yeah, I mean, I think Randall's fine. It's another situation that's pretty hard to project, but it's obviously a great spot. So if you want to play $7,200 Julius Randle in an elite spot, by all means do it. Toby 63, back to that like very safe territory. Probably a little too expensive, but I'm good with Toby at that price. Kuzma has been pretty bad the last couple games. It's been a blowout in each, but that's probably going to happen again here. So, a little indifferent about Kuzma. Sar, Draymond, if he plays, obviously it's like a really good spot, so you can get the Draymond. I don't think there's like much until we just start dipping our toes into the sub 5K tier and start talking like Jovic, Brooks, Reed, and like that whole tier right there.
I mean, Jovic deserves the attention here, right? And we're all buying in, and it's been great these last couple of games, but we're also just waiting for the rug pull by Spoelstra at some point, probably coming as well, where like Jovic doesn't get off to a hot start, and all of a sudden he just like loses a sub rotation. Next thing you know, those 32 and 27 minutes are actually 21 or 22 minutes. But first round pick, Spoelstra is really good at developing these late round, second round, late round first guys.
Undrafted, I mean, all of them.
Yeah,
all
like
of
he
them,
is. He is. This system churns out these dudes. He's always been a stretch. He's knocking down threes. He's taking a lot of them. But now you're starting to get other numbers, like the assists, the rebounds. They could just have a kid here that he's forcing his way into this playing time as long as they keep winning these basketball games.
He is an elite ball handler. You know how I always talk about like Najee Marshall being a team secondary ball handler?
Yeah.
That is Jovic. Like when you watch them play, he is doing a lot of ball handling. So
6'10", just out there.
He is huge. He is very good with the ball. He's a very good passer. He can space, obviously. He can do he can do everything. I think it's just a lot of young players are just inconsistent.
It's too easy to make the comparison, right? But like he's a young Serbian big who knows how to handle the basketball, and maybe he's modeling his game off of another Serbian big, and Nikola Jokic. They almost have the exact same name, like
it's definitely,
right.
That's definitely a way that some people would probably not approach it, but I mean, you do.
I'm not saying he's him now, but listen, Jokic wasn't him this right away either. So
Jokic was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial in the second round. Jokic, not Jovic. Second round, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
I just watched that interview today he did with Malik Andrews of ESPN, where he said They didn't believe in the fat boy. Look now, haha. So yeah, that's
It's true. It's true. Anyways, super talented player. Hopefully, Solskjaer just continues to kind of let him grow and develop and be a key piece
yep.
For them there. If nothing else, maybe he becomes trade fodder for them with his development here. Naz Reid's another one. We've kind of talked a little bit about it lately, where he's finding minutes, whether it be at the expense of Gobert or Randall, depending the situation. But he is looking a lot more like the guy that won the Sixth Man of the Year last year with a dominant second half. We're starting to see those numbers, and now he's got a matchup against Washington. So I wouldn't see a reason not to go back to the Naz Reid well here.
I almost, if the slate, when we wake up tomorrow and there's nothing that has changed, like if there's nothing that's changed, I'd almost guarantee you can count on one hand how many people are higher on the Naz Reid.
I was gonna say top 3 probably ownership here. Power forward, center, dual positional eligibility there.
In the best spot where like Edwards, like Edwards is gonna be popular. Like Gobert's cheap, he's gonna be popular, and like Randall's gonna get ownership. Naz Reid, 4,700 power forward center, like you said, against a bad team where people probably just assume like, oh, well, Naz Reid will just play, right? It's like not really, but I mean, he'll play anyway because he plays anyway. But
yeah, he's not getting blowout run, but he'll just play the game that he plays.
Yeah. But yeah, he's gonna be. I mean, he's been awesome lately.
Dude, not touching his price tag, and he's going for 37, 32, 28, and 34. That's 7 to 8x return for 4 straight games. Not touching him.
Yep, it's brutal.
So definitely, again, a popular play, going to be popular, easy plug. And then it all kind of depends on some of these other guys based on who's in or out of the lineup. If anybody gets scratched or ruled out, there's options for us to plug in here. Our guy Chris Boucher has back-to-back games now of 20 or more minutes. 27 against Cleveland, goes nutty somehow in a game that they actually were competitive in. 46 fantasy points there. Bounces back after that with a 20-minute performance against Detroit. 21 fantasy points. We go through this often with Chris Boucher as well. But what are your thoughts at 4K?
He's playing over Kelly O. They're using him as like the backup center right now. So, I mean, he might not play tomorrow. It's just, I think he's going to play.
You're on the floor, right? 9 of 14.
I think he's going to play. It'd be hard to like not like remove him with how well he's played, but I probably won't go there at 4K. I liked it better when it was 3K.
I agree.
I didn't even play him then, so like
I know. We called out the big game and then we just ignored it. Again, we'll have to see if there's any other injuries before we talk about anybody else at power forward. Center, Wemmy's 11-3, AD's 10-5. AD's gotten the better of the matchups from a fantasy point perspective here. So if you want to save some money with Anthony Davis or Towns here against Detroit at 10K over Wemby, both of those plays I think are perfectly acceptable. I don't think Wemby is a must spend up. We know what his ceiling is, but I think there are plenty of centers on the board here today that can give you some pretty good return.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play Wemby? Great for you. If you want to play Anthony Davis, hey, good for you. You want to play Karl Anthony Towns? Guess what, buddy? Good for there's almost no wrong answer in any of those players.
I agree.
Towns is the best savings, and honestly, like probably the direction I'd personally go looking at it right now. But
and then Brunson sits too. Like,
I mean, dude, he went 30, 18, and 4 in a game that Jalen Brunson scored 44 points in.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, it's just one of those things. This has just been a match made in heaven for fantasy.
Yeah, for all of us, right? Because he's on a Tibbs team that he plays minutes. Now he doesn't. Right. He's the one guy that if anybody gets actually limited on that team, but like most nights he's still out there trucking, for 35. The other one I want to highlight here is Şengün. This has been a matchup that he's eaten.
Yes.
49 fantasy points on 50 fantasy points average in the 2 games against Memphis. Obviously just faced them, went for 60 in that last game there, 32, 14, and 5. Memphis, they don't really have a big that can hang with him. So, if they want to go small with Jaren Jackson Jr., Şengün's got the advantage there. If they go Edey or Huff, like Şengün's got the advantage there. Yeah, I like this spot a lot for Şengün, and you're getting him for cheaper than you're paying for Towns,
Yeah, I'd be good with getting to Şengün. Back-to-back, just a monster. Another guy who just can do it all. So
do it all.
Yep.
Agreed. So you get him for $9,100. You have the Zubac Bam matchup, Hurdle versus Golden State. TJD has been really good, but with Draymond back, I don't know if that cuts into any of his minutes or not. But if you think not, TJD at 56 is a really good spot here.
Yeah, it seems like they've stabilized. My issue was that when they had Kuminga, they could just I feel like when they needed offense, they were more likely to go to that small ball Draymond lineup.
Sure.
But without Kuminga, they just are not as likely. And maybe they explore like Buddy Hield lineups with Wiggins at the 4. You never know, but it just seems like since Kuminga's gone down, Jackson Davis's minutes are, those like high 20s minutes seem more secure.
Yeah, so I like him as a value play here. And again, I think any of these other mid-tier guys from Bam down are all pretty safe if you want to throw them in your lineups.
Dude, Rudy Gobert. We have not talked Rudy Gobert at all during this
no, and
stretch.
You've actually highlighted him a few different times, or tried to mention him quite a few different times, being like, we didn't mention Gobert. We should probably talk some Gobert, and then we end up not going in on him. But
like
platform.
Dude, I completely understand like why somebody wouldn't want to play him. He is in year whatever 10, and he's incapable of creating offense for himself still. He's never gonna that's just something that's never gonna develop. Clearly, isn't even something he probably cares to develop at this point, because he just got a max extension anyway in the offseason. So why does it matter? But like, you do not need a lot of Rudy Gobert to get where we need to get to.
Not at 5,200, man. This price tank has been wild to watch.
I'm I have a hard time like in this spot just not hammering this play and just moving on. Like him and Naz Reid, like, because obviously 29 minutes aren't great, and he was obviously the one to suffer in this game. But the 3 games prior where he didn't, and most of the year where he hasn't, because he's averaging 33 minutes a game. I mean, dude, come on, 5,200. Like, there's something in the algorithm just being like, nah, it doesn't matter. Just like he has in the last 3 games has had, or just like on separate occasions has given us an 18 rebound game, a 6 block game, and a 12-point game. Like, if you ever got that combined in a Rudy Gobert 5,200, like, you're just not winning, because
just look at the Orlando game just as a baseline number for what he's basically capable of doing. 10 points, 12 rebounds, an assist, a steal. You're not even asking for him to do a lot, right? Those are like almost baseline Rudy Gobert numbers. He's averaging a double-double for the season. He's averaging almost 30 fantasy points for the season. 30 fantasy points at 5,200, it's 6x. Like, you're right there. He doesn't have to do much to 6x you. He went 12, 4, and 4 and got you 25 fantasy points. That's your 5x. 12, 4, and 4. You're not asking a lot out of Rudy Gobert to give you 5 to 6x. And to your point, 7 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and he had the 6 blocks in that game. Okay, well, 41 at 52 is 9x, right?
You're winning.
You're there.
And you're this is against a terrible team. Like, you are facing a terrible team.
Yeah.
Washington doesn't rebound. They're 27th in rebound rate this year. We're talking about a prolific rebounder. I mean, there's just a lot to like about playing and I know it's uncomfortable because he might take 4 shots and go 3 or 4 and score 6 points because he misses his lone free throw attempts. But like, it might not matter because if he has 15 rebounds and 3 blocks, then he got you there in just the rebounds and the
Right.
blocks. So it just like the price is the one thing that I am having a hard time moving past. Like that is something that
I think there's a fairly safe floor here. And then obviously we know that 3 of the last 4 is giving you over 30 fantasy points, and that's 6 plus X at $5,200. So yeah, I'm fine with the play. Definitely in the player pool. Anything else down here? We talked obviously Reed, we talked Jovic, Gobert. I mean, you have the Washington centers, they'll play their minutes.
yeah, they're
Nothing else though. What
Khalil,
did Khalil do?
I would say Khalil Ware would be the one guy that I would consider.
I played
he has
Stewart too the other day. I think they're both kind of in the same realm.
They're probably the same. It's like they're like the same player.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Didn't mean to cut you off there. What are your thoughts on Ware?
He's just been extended. I don't know if they're like looking to give Bam more time off because his minutes are way, way down. So I don't know what that's about, but I think Ware's like if I would definitely say Ware probably has a higher ceiling than Isaiah Stewart, or like what I think of Khalil Ware is a higher ceiling than Isaiah Stewart because he's like he's a really good shot. He's just super athletic, really good shot blocker. And that's not what Isaiah Stewart is. Isaiah Stewart like isn't a bad shot blocker, but not like from an athleticism standpoint.
Yeah.
Like it.
Stewart's minute ceiling is a bit higher right now, but
yes,
from like a overall fantasy production wise, like they're also fairly similar.
Yep.
I liked the matchup against Toronto on Saturday, so I plugged him in as like last man in to fit the jam session that I had in there, and ended up coming in 10th in the $5 single there with Stewart giving me 19 fantasy points in 3,300. Like that's what you need out of him. You need him to get on the floor, stay out of foul trouble, and then hope he fills the stat sheet like he's capable of doing. But Khalil Ware is sort of the same situation there. He gets on the floor, he does a lot in the little time that he's out there. So you hit the right day, and those guys can put it all together. You'll be in a good spot here. All right, let's build a lineup then. I think we're. Do you want to do Towns or do you want to go Gobert at center? Or we could probably play them both if you really wanted to. So
let's. I don't care. Let's just definitely play Naz Reid. That's all I know.
Okay, so we'll do Naz then. Naz the power forward. If we do Towns, $5,800. I don't feel like we had a lot of like very obvious value on this slate. We had a couple of guys that were under 5K. I guess we'll play Jovic at forward. I wanted to see if we could get like get Cade, but I don't think we're gonna be able to.
I don't think we're gonna. It's uncomfortable.
5K? Yeah, it would be. Like you could play Christie at 4K to probably make that work. Osor, obviously, if we knew if like Keldon would see more minutes. Kennard.
It's kind of an uncomfortable build.
THJ is there.
I mean, we could just not play Towns and play Cade and then play like Gobert because he's so cheap.
You're good, obviously. Gobert and Reed in the same lineup, I would.
Correct.
Okay. Shooting guard, probably just do Vassell.
Yeah, Jalen Green, Vassell. You could probably play Jalen Green and Vassell.
Yeah, Jalen Green and Vassell, yeah. 5,900 guard. Just did Amon 73, and then there'll be a 46 util. It's not a great spot. That is not a good spot.
It's pretty ugly.
Jaden
McDaniels, but we're playing too many Minnesota.
But do you play? I mean, I wanted Cade, obviously, because we didn't play.
Play Cade. Just don't play Amen Thompson there. Just play some. We could just do something different. You could just play Van Vliet if you I don't know if that's
like
gonna. I don't know if that it gets us like Asar Thompson. It gets us. Dylan Brooks is gonna play a lot of minutes.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there any other 6K guards we liked then?
It doesn't also have to be. I guess it kind of does.
Yeah, we don't really have.
We'll play if we played DiVincenzo at 55 in the guard spot, and then we had a $6,500 util.
Toby's there. Chris Paul.
Yeah, it's probably one of those. It's probably one of those two.
Oh, Paul. $500 left over. Cade, Green, Vassell, Reed, Gobert, DiVincenzo, Jovic, and Paul. Get an example lineup for everybody. We'll be back live at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Break it all down again for you with the latest news, notes, and updates. Give us a follow on Twitter. Get in that Discord. Talk to us then. Leave a comment in the comment section. We do appreciate you guys each and every day tuning in. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe button. The free way to support what we do here. Grande and I will see you later.